What's up, everybody? This is Zoya, the Russian Korean, and today we actually have a guest on our channel. I actually talked with him for a little bit. I don't really know too much about him, so actually today's interview is going to be pretty interesting for me personally, but I do vlogs related to some of my cultural experience and also, my background as a Russian Korean. So I thought it would be interesting to talk to somebody who is a foreigner but living in Russia and about their experience and what it's like for them. Because, my experience is not necessarily everybody else's, and I think his is definitely worth sharing. So why don't we just get into the conversation? Okay, well, this is Ralph. Ralph, hello, how are you?
Hello, Zoya, and yeah, I'm fine. And by the way, before we kick off, I would like to say big thanks to Zoya because not only this is my first time doing a collab with anyone in the YouTube community, but this is just my first time having such a format. And Zoya has been so reliable to me and helpful as well. So from there, big thanks to you, Zoya, and yeah.
Oh, well,
So to the viewer,
you're very
yeah,
welcome. You're very welcome. Yes.
yeah, thanks.
But yeah, please
Yeah, I
could you
mean, I
just
read.
introduce yourself to our viewers a little bit, like who you are, maybe your name and how you ended up in Russia, just briefly.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, my name is, you can just call me Ralph. My name is Ralph Etuka, but my name on YouTube is Ralph Dukan.
Hmm.
Yeah, I am not the African Russian, but I think I will be getting there soon in the sense that I have been living in Russia for almost 15 years
Wow.
now. Yeah, for almost 15 years now, particularly in Moscow. And I have gone through different stages living in any society. And yeah, I'll be very glad to share that with you guys.
You've lived in Russia for 15 years? I feel like
Yeah,
that
it's
actually means that you've lived in Russia longer than me.
wow. And you, and I
Yeah.
think it's very unfair. It's very unfair in between us because I'm not like a Russian.
But
You are
still, you
Russian.
spent
So,
more time there than me because I lived there
yeah.
for 14 years and then moved to the US. So, wow,
Oh,
that's amazing.
okay. Yeah. Yeah, because if you look at things, you will see actually I do have a family, by the way,
Okay.
got married to a Russian lady. Yeah, and I do have two lovely boys, which they mean a lot to me, like some of you do have yours as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, I would like to start off by saying that I came here in Russia not purposely to be a vlogger, and doing this actually. I have a history actually personally in sports, and I used to play professional pro soccer,
Okay.
football. Yeah,
Nice.
and so I was invited, yeah, by a Russian club for trials, and that's how it began.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was a difficult time back
Mm.
then, and it just happened that things didn't turn out the way we wanted to. And I spent, I think, another 2 years in Russia, between Russia and Belarus, where I played for a Belarusian club.
Hmm.
And after that, I had an injury. You know, in sports, in high level sports,
Right.
sometimes injury is the nightmare. I had an injury. I had to do some recuperation.
Mm.
And during that period, it happened that I met a lady, which we kind of built up like most foreigners. Let me tell you guys. I mean, for those of you who are single, coming to Russia is so tempting. You can just look at Zoya. I mean, I don't. She needs to tell us the secret behind this because I mean, it's just easy for you to fall into I don't want to call it a trap, into the sweet
Could be,
trap.
could be.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, to actually engage with a Russian lady. So I had this lady, and it happened that we had a kid. I had to decide either to leave the kid here alone with the mother,
Mm.
or to stick around and build up a business,
Hmm.
because I wasn't actually going to continue playing soccer. So that's how it started, and yeah.
I see, I see. So you chose to stay and raise your family and build a life in Russia, correct?
Exactly, exactly. So that was a very tough
Right.
decision. It was easy in the sense that I never had a kid, and there was like I still have the emotions when I was told that my wife got that to a kid. I was
Oh,
like, wow. So there's another
yeah.
human being which came from me and who's existing now. So for me, it was like exploding. I really love the idea. And with the fact that I don't know if it's an African thing, we are so family orientated. And I was like, I had to do something.
Mhm.
Firstly, I like the mom. The only minus in the whole situation was that I finally had to settle in a place I never planned to settle.
I see.
So it was like,
Okay.
yeah, so I never planned to settle. So I
Mhm.
had to settle there. So I had to pick things very fast.
Mhm.
Um, um, Talking about things I had to pick very fast is I had a friend who had a strip club, not a female strip club. So I was in the strip, a male strip club. There were girls stripping there at Arbat. I
I
guess you
see.
know the
Okay.
street.
Okay. We're getting into the
So
risky territory here, but go ahead.
no, it's not. There's nothing risky there. So in this strip club, it happened that I visited it, I think twice. And what I noticed was like there are a lot of foreigners coming to Russia. Back then, 14 years ago, it was a different image from what we're seeing today.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, there is an opportunity there. Back then, YouTube, I'm not sure if YouTube was, how old is YouTube? Maybe 10 years or so. It wasn't working. Maybe there was no YouTube. I'm not sure about it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't a YouTube guy. But I understood that there were foreigners who needed information from a local who lived in Russia. So I took that as an opportunity to create a business.
Mhm.
So my business, I understood that I couldn't make a day business, right? Like a guiding business during the day.
Yeah.
So I created a business which is related to nightlife, guiding people on places and areas to visit, like clubs, cafe, after business meetings,
In Moscow,
tourist
right?
Russia in Moscow,
Okay.
yeah. So it wasn't like a big business, but I grew it up through recommendation, and I had a more or less a very good data after a year or so.
Yeah.
So that's how I kicked off as a start of a business of
Wow.
mine living in Russia. I had a family, I had to feed them, so I had
Wow.
to do something legally.
Yeah.
So
Wow. You're
that
you're a
just
survivor. I would say.
yeah,
Yeah.
that,
Big
that just
decisions
explains
and yeah.
that just explains the kind of person you are because you're placed in a situation between a wall and a rock, and you just
Mhm.
have to make a decision. And it's not about how much money you have. It's about courage, about your image. And the good news is that I can say most do say that I'm an extrovert. I love communication. I am lucky to meet Zoya because she gives me this time to express myself.
Mhm.
I love to learn cultures, and yeah. So that's just how it started.
I see.
That's it.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
so then I have a few questions that since you talked about your family, all right, and
yeah.
obviously you don't live by yourself, you live with your family, but I just wonder, since your children were born in Russia and you have a Russian wife, what languages do you speak at home with your children, with your wife? How do you communicate with each other?
Yeah, that's a good one. The thing is, I actually like the depth of that question because I get it often from locals. I
Hmm.
know. The thing is that I don't know, I could say unfortunate. I was unfortunate that my back then girlfriend, which is my present wife,
Yeah.
she's so smart, by the way. She speaks three languages, so
Oh.
she's just so good in English.
Hmm.
The fact that she speaks English has made my Russian not good. But coming back to the kids, my kids actually, we had to make some serious decisions. Russian is such a conservative society, and when you have a child, you have to name him Tanya, Dasha, Dima, all these Russian names.
Hmm.
It's important with the question. So we had to make some decisions in regards to the kids' future, not only on the language sense, but also on their image in the society. So we kind of choose also names which are international,
Hmm.
like Sasha and Matthew, which is Matvey, Mateo, Sasha, Alexandra, Alejandro in
Hmm.
Spanish. So in regards to languages, I opted that they should be speaking Russian. They had to know this language first, but they study in English. But the good news is that my kids do speak three languages. So Russian, obviously, because they live here, they can express themselves in
Yeah.
English, and also in German because they go to German school in Russia
Oh,
also.
I see. I see. So
Yeah.
the school that they go to is not like a Russian public school, but they go to a private German school?
Yeah, I don't know how to put it, but Zoya, I think you can understand. They have what they call
Oh, okay, gymnasium.
gymnasium.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I went to
which are
one.
kind of
Yeah.
yeah. So which are schools which are actually specialized on certain areas.
Right.
You have some in mathematics.
Ah,
So the gymnasium which they go in Russia, It specializes in languages, which is German.
I see.
So my kids go to two schools actually, and they go to an American.
Oh, okay. I see. I
Yeah,
see. I see. They're getting a really good education.
yeah,
Gymnasiums are really nice. If I do say so myself, I went to one. I guess this is another question, kind of related to the languages that you speak at home. But how much Russian do you speak on a daily basis, and how do you communicate with not family, but other Russian people, just in your life?
yeah. I can put it this way. After like today is like 15 years I've been around, and living in Russia, it's very, I can say it, very unusual than living in any other country. I haven't been to Asia, but yeah, maybe I may do that someday. But in Russia, the thing is that they are so cultured. The culture in Russia is something you don't study overnight. You need to be around to pick it up. You
Yeah.
know, the Russian language goes a lot with the culture, their own emotions. So in order to use the language perfectly and communicate with people, you have to be very flexible. But coming back to the depth of the question is, I do actually communicate easily with people. With the fact that luckily I am an extrovert, so I can actually bust into a
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
I lose nothing in going in. I mean, in my vlogs, I talk to people very freely. Some people do appreciate it because I mean, I'm just talking. I don't have a gun with me, you know.
Hmm.
So in Russia, the biggest challenge for foreigners, especially Europeans coming to Russia, is when they come into to the borders, they see everybody is white. You know, it's like white people, European physically, but Russia is quite very culture orientated. When you pick this part of Russia, you can live here very very easily, which means you respect the culture in the way you introduce yourself. You always try to be nice because I've been here for 15 years. Believe me, I'm a foreigner. In Russia, you're always a foreigner. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's it. I just try to do my best to communicate with people. With the Russian, I think my level of Russia is more or less not average. I mean, over average.
I
I
see, I
can put it.
see, I see. Well, that's so something you said there, all right, about like people coming and seeing like, oh, Russians are just these white people. They look like pretty much the same as all the other Europeans, but
Yeah.
there is something very unique about Russian culture that makes it different from let's say Western Europe. Could you maybe explain what you mean by that, the thing that makes it different?
Yeah, as someone who travels a lot, I do a lot of traveling in Europe. I've been almost to all countries in Europe. I see that in Europe, there is this kind of on first sight, I would just say people are more kind of very warm to you on first sight. They give you a chance, in a dialogue. In Russia, people are more, I would just say, back. They just lay back. They don't actually give you that chance to have a dialogue. So there is just a tiny line between that in terms of communication that you would need to be a bit more courageous to go into a Russian. An average Russian is even tougher when, I mean, the older they get because it's a different generation, you know.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't find it very easy to just bump into a Russian for a question or a help, especially the older generation, as I said. But the younger generation, it's easier for you to approach them in the sense that because they watch all the Western movies, Asian movies, so they will give you a chance. But in terms of coming back to your question, which is the culture, I think the biggest difference in Russian culture and the West is that in Russia there is a pattern. Let me just tell you the pattern. If you're traveling to Russia and you intend to study in Russia, intend to be here for over, this is for people who intend to be here for over, let me say 2 weeks, not only tourists. You have to take this point. In Russia, there are two ways of doing things. In the West, as I said, people give you a chance, and you can either mess up with it or you take advantage of it or do something positive about it.
Yeah.
In Russia, you work hard to win that respect. You get what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You need to win their respect. So the question is, why should I respect you? So who are you? So you have to you always have something to prove to gain the respect. That is similarities. So if you go to the UK, you want to buy something, people are nice to you. Nobody knows you.
Mm-hmm.
In Russia, you build up the respect to be someone to be nice to. And that is the big take I've taken into this society.
I actually, as you're speaking, for me, it's interesting to hear, someone else's perspective about like my culture, and I think a lot of
Yeah.
what you say is true. So I was wondering, when you first came to Russia, what was the biggest cultural shock for you? Anything? What was something that you remember was like, wow, what?
Well, I remember, I can say I don't, I mean, it's still in my mind. I can say that. Yeah, I never smoked a cigarette, but, I could do that during the winter. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think the biggest shock I have, there were many actually. First of all, I never knew when I landed in Moscow, I was received by the club and took me to a flat. I never knew people live in what they call quadratmeters, in square meters, in
Mm,
apartments, like maybe in Asia also the same. For
yeah.
me, everything was new.
Hmm.
Like in Africa, we live normally in houses. We don't have these vertical buildings a
Oh,
lot.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was physically a bit, oh. Then we have the biggest problem I had socially, which is also it's a cultural thing in Russia, is that it, the fact that you're my neighbor, it doesn't mean you have to be my friend.
Hmm. Yeah.
You get the point?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not sure about how it works in Asia, but it's a European thing, but it's particular in Russia also because you don't need to. So I don't know what is going on in the next door, and believe me, the next door is in a normal house, like another room, right?
Hmm.
In a normal house.
Yeah.
So this is a culture in Russia, which I think maybe for Europeans they might get used to it, but you might live in the same building, which is called a house
Yeah.
block,
Yeah.
but you have no idea what's going on with the next person beside you. So in as an African, we try to share things at that level, so I can understand that there's a kid which is ill in the next door. I
Hmm.
mean, and by the way, we live in houses.
Hmm.
There's something else.
Mm.
So that cultural difference, it was really one of the things that I really found very strange, that people were not that really friendly to each other, to be honest. I mean, on face
Yeah.
value,
Yeah, right, right,
yeah,
right.
not. I didn't say they're not friendly, but people don't just give you that smile.
Hmm.
Like it's quite challenging.
I
Yeah.
see. So when you since the time when you first moved to Russia up until now, looking back and just thinking about, your experiences, how do you feel Russians just treat foreigners in general?
Yeah, I would say there have been a lot of improvement. I can say in the past 14 years, I don't like to go into politics, but I'm going to hint something inside without calling names on my experience.
Hmm.
I mean, I think that the the leaders of Russia, they have done a good job. They haven't done the best job, but they have done a good job in many ways,
Hmm.
because you might argue if it's fast or slow, but they have. Because I would say that there have been a huge improvement, maybe due to the World Cup, maybe due to the Olympic in Sochi, maybe due to all these international events that goes on, and also the media. But there have been like positive trend in Russian society. Yesterday, I was walking in a park in Moscow and making an interview for my feature film
Hmm.
about Russia, what they think about Indians and Americans. And well, I live in Moscow, so Moscow is quite European.
Right.
So I mean, the viewers should know this. Yes, we are European. So, but they are just so open-minded. Nobody cares. There have been a massive improvement in that sector in terms of the way Russians look towards foreigners, especially the big cities like Moscow, St. Petersburg, and is it Kaliningrad or whatever? I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's been a massive improvement in that sense in terms of foreigners. I can't speak for everyone, but this is a general view. I mean,
Hmm.
foreigners
Yeah,
would love it.
general. Yeah.
The general view, I've spoken to a lot, and I mean, they like it. And the Russians are like very welcoming people.
Hmm.
So that's it.
Then, so this is general. What about Black people in particular? What do you think is the Russian attitude towards blacks?
Yeah, to be fair, this is not, I mean, but if you watch some older videos, I mean, in YouTube 10 years ago, you will see a lot of videos about how blacks have been beaten on the street, students had bad experience stories. Those videos are real things, they did happen.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that in the past, I would say 5 years, I've been looking at this very carefully. Those hate crimes have reduced massively.
Mm.
In the coming days, I'm heading to a city by name Voronezh. It used to be, I'm driving through there. It used to be the headquarters for Skinhead. Everybody knows it. On the online, you check it.
Yeah.
But I hope I can have some minutes to make a vlog around in Voronezh and speak to locals as I'm passing by. But I'm trying to tell you that I have seen how the social situation has improved. I've been to small province. I've been to different cities. I've gone to the Kafkas, where the Elbrus is on the peak of the mountains, and that's Europe's tallest mountain. If you guys don't know, I mean, they are so welcoming. It doesn't matter who you are. But yes, yes, it is true that the Russian system is structured in a way that not only a black, as a foreigner, it would be hard for you to work in a bank.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't work on this. You can work on the service sector as a student, but you won't work in the professional sector. It's not that matured yet. That's the bitter truth. But last year I saw even Burger King, the restaurant, the fast chain restaurant, employing black students on the counter. I'm really happy. That's a massive use. When I came here, you could only see blacks working here as a cleaner in a restaurant, maybe as a cook, but not at the face of a restaurant. But today you see them everywhere working. I mean,
Yeah.
they're everywhere. So it has improved massively. And I will tell you guys who want to visit Russia, be you black or Asian or European, Moscow is one of the safest cities in the world. You can walk at 3 a.m., no one will hurt you. Believe me.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
no one will help you. Not the Moscow that we knew. Things have improved a lot. I stayed 8 years I lived 8 years just sharing the wall with the American embassy in the center of Moscow. Believe me, I mean, Moscow is the most safe place you can walk. I go to Paris, go to London. I mean, you're a bit scared someone stabs you in the back. In Moscow, nobody cares. It's important for the viewers to know that today in Russia, people are more interested about billing their bank accounts rather than about looking about these cultural issues. Believe me, everybody wants to have a nice car, a nice flat, a nice
Yeah.
flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I have just a few more questions for you. I think
Yeah.
the insight that you've offered, I really appreciate it. I think, for me, and we'll talk about, my side of things in a separate video, which we will publish on your channel. But I was wondering, what aspect of Russian culture do you enjoy the most? And what aspect of Russian culture do you, let's say, dislike the most?
Yeah. Talking about the other aspects, what I really enjoyed, I would say that Russians are pro-family. Maybe I'm in such a family, but I think that they are. In the West, I mean, you need to compare that. It's relative, right? In the West, you give birth to a child. He or she is 18 and get married, is their family, and that's it, right? In Russian culture, family means a lot. Kind of a mafia, but family means a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you can agree with me. It's all about the family. I'm married to such a family, but maybe I have a feeling that it works like that because they always reunion whenever there's an occasion. There's this kind of reunion in Russia. I love that. I mean, I know they're not Westerners, but I'm an African, and I see white people who are more into making career behave in such a manner. I do appreciate that. I really love it. So they are more family orientated, Russia, honestly, and you can see that when they're making their toast in occasion.
Yeah.
You can tell me it starts from the grandfather to the grandkid. Toast, 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 toast. So it's all about building this clan in the family. I love it. What I hate a lot, it's I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but it's related with a family thing also, because all my experience mostly goes on internally. If you're coming here, and maybe who knows, you have a Russian wife, is that when you related to kids, the way they bring up kids in Russia, they give a lot of authority to kids at a very early age. In Africa, we don't. I mean, you become a mature person maybe only when you get married, and it has to be maybe when you're like 27. You're always a kid,
Yeah.
In Russia, they give that responsibility to kids very early. And by the way, for those who don't know, I don't know about how it works in Asia. A girl, a boy, who is 18 years let me say 17 years in Russia, seems to be more mature than the counterpart, which is in Europe. In Russia, that responsibility is given to you so early, in my
Mm,
view. I mean, I studied it. We have a lot of family friends, and it's easy to say. It's just a cultural thing. It's like, I mean, kids these days just say, "Soon I'll be 18," and that's it.
oh, so what you don't like about it is the kind of autonomous, I guess, nature of it
Yeah.
given to children too early. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. That I don't like the fact that kids are given that massive responsibility too early.
Mm,
It's like everywhere. It's like, well, in Russia, the Russians normally think it's a cultural thing. We have to get them independent as early as possible. But I think sometimes kids are given these responsibilities so early, and that pressures their youthhood, I would say. Yeah. So I just think that it's not a good thing for society.
I see.
It's just like the same thing. You can accept this. You can agree with me, Zoya, that in Russia, I mean, kids get married very early. 22, 21.
Mm,
I think it's early. So
I see.
that might be the reason for it.
I see.
Part of it. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Well, I think with these things, sometimes it comes down to almost like personal preference, or maybe because I've seen kind of the same trend in the US as well. So, children, I guess what you would maybe call a child is not considered a child, in that country.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the set of responsibilities and also, consequences for their actions is quite, different. But I think that's like its own whole discussion, that we can have. But I do have just one closing question for you. I know that you said that, for people who want to come travel to Russia, you definitely should try. But what's your advice for those who want to go to Russia more long term? So not just visit, have fun and look at the culture maybe for even a few months, I would call that short term. Long term is like at least a year or even more than that. What would your advice be for those people?
Yeah, I think one of my advice is I will give like two or three or so. Yeah, but I mean the most important thing when coming to Russia for a short term, it's you need to have an open mind.
Hmm.
You need to be really flexible. You need to keep your cultural stuff, which are your cultural values from where you're from, a little bit behind you. You need to be really ready to learn new things when you come to Russia. But in terms of that area where to live. Russia is a very big country. I live in Moscow, as I just said previously. It depends on where you're going. You have many places in Russia where you can have really great fun. But it is important also that you should have an entry level of Russian. You don't need to go to classes. You can go on videos. I'll tell you what I did when I came in the first time. We were writing, there were no, like this internet wasn't that active. I was writing words in English, Russian. So
Hmm.
you can pick up easy words in order to
Yeah.
talk to have a chat with Russians. And there are a lot of places that you can visit if you're in Russia here, which is there are other small cities. You have like you go to the southern parts of Russia, northern. There are just many places too. But if you want to come here for something like a visibility studies and business, just to learn how to, and I mean, put something like a foundation for you to be here for longer, it is important that you study Russian.
Yeah.
It is very important that you study Russian. It's important that you join all of these face groups around on the internet. It's important that you learn how to respect other cultures, and you must be ready also to compromise on many of your values, because Russia is quite conservative. There will be many things that you experience in Russia that you wouldn't experience in any European country. Those who have yesterday, I met some Indians, I met some Asians from Korea or Korea also, South Korea, and they speak Russian. You know, they have been here for 3 years, and they have a business here, a restaurant business. So if you have like any society, you will need to learn. You need to be ready to be flexible. You need to be ready to learn the language, take things easy and culture, and be disciplined. I mean, just respect the rules. That's the way I live here. I mean, humans are so complicated. I live here just respecting the rules and not hurting anyone. That's I mean, there's nothing special. If it's in related to business, you need to go to a good consultant on that. But I mean, socially, just have an open mind, especially if you're in the big cities, Moscow, St. Petersburg. But again, never be scared that someone is going to stab you on the back, someone is going to hit you because you're an Asian, because you're an African. It doesn't work. It does, but it could be like 1%. I mean, lesser than even a percent. Yeah, it happens. You have to be really unlucky to have such a situation, because I wouldn't say I have never had in 15 years, but no one has hurt me, like touched me because I'm a black. Yeah, I mean, so you just have to take an open mind when you're coming to Russia. That it's a new place. I mean, just come and listen. But learning the language, going back to the question, learning the language at the entry level will be very helpful.
I see.
I think Zoya will help with that. Yeah, I do YouTube. I do basically vlogs on YouTube, and I actually show the Russian cultures to foreigners. So if you have a moment, you can jump up to my channel.
Yep.
Dukan Ralph, and watch the videos. I'll be very glad.
Yes.
And maybe subscribe and be part of the community as well.
And I will
Thanks.
actually link your channel in this video description. So yeah, if you guys are interested, you can definitely check out Ralph's channel. It's pretty cool. I've seen some videos. He has some pretty cool stuff related to Russian culture and also just traveling around there. So yeah, check it out if you're interested. Well, I think that's actually a great way for us to finish this part of our interview. We will have actually a second part, which we will publish on Ralph's channel, so you'll be able to see it there. But for this, thank you so much, Ralph, for all of your insight and just sharing your experience, being so open. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.